Some books, as I am sure it has happened to many of us, come into your life just at the right point, just at the right time, and it feels as though everything that you were thinking about or everything that you were ruminating, pondering, just happened to be solidified. They happened to be challenged. They happened to be confirmed. That book is An Inventory of Losses by Judith Schalansky, translated from the German by Jackie Smith. Before I begin to swoon and criticise this book, let's just talk about one very glaring thing. This is a sexy looking book. Look at that. Marble, you got this gold embossing. It shouldn't come as a surprise, as Schlansky is a book designer, so has had a lot of time and effort put into the making of this book. But this is a book that I would happily invite round for dinner to meet my mum. Don't tell the wife. If I could carefully place a little appendix here, I don't normally talk about the translation or how good the translation is, because hey ho, guess what? I don't speak the original, so I feel as though I can't really judge on that. I kind of take this as the original. Luckily for me, Sina at Beating Around the Books, I'll link her channel below, recommended that we buddy read this, so I did, and Sina speaks German, so we kind of did a little bit of back and forth, and it does feel as though, it feels like a really strong translation in my eyes, so if that's something that you want confirmation of, Jackie Smith, well done. If you want to know what this book is about, please look at the back, where it will not tell you, neither will this bit, or neither will this bit. You kind of have to go in blind to it. It's as if they lost the synopsis. An Inventory of Losses is a really good title. It's a list of things that have been lost, and all these things differ in some ways. These could be environmental losses, these could be natural losses, these could be extinctions, these could be literal things that have been lost, or things that never existed and were lost to the world. Sometimes people are just quoted for doing something, and the original's lost. Each thing that is lost, you're met with this black page, such as the Caspian tiger, and these are like fantastic, because from a distance you couldn't actually tell there's like an etching there. For further examples, we have Griefswall's Harbour, Encyclopedia in the Woods, Gurukha's Unicorn. I mean, this was absolutely petrifying. The Boy in Blue, and I'm kind of glad they lost that film, because imagine that staring at you. Ugh. Before you dive into the losses, there's a preamble and a preface where Schlansky kind of gives you a understanding into why she wants to talk about these lost things. That's not to say that she's explicit to, this is why I want to talk about some lost segments of Sappho's work. This is why I want to talk about selenographs. This is why I want to talk about an island that was on a map, but now it's not anymore. More so, it's not Schlansky trying to convince you why you should care about lost things. It comes across like Schlansky's trying to justify her own decisions, why she's decided to take on this book. And let's talk about the writing style of this. Each of the various essays, chapters, stories, meditations, each one differs in tone, format, language, and style. Some are told as reimaginings or biographies of the people who were there during this lost thing being in existence, or as it leaves existence. One of them is a radio host who is just talking, letting his words float through the airwaves, hoping that they reach someone at the end. One is Schlansky talking about mythical beings and how she is even going to get this book published. With each lost thing, there is either a strong connection, an abstract connection, or one such as the Boy in Blue with the really scary guy on it. That was what I really couldn't get the connection at all, apart from that a film is being referenced in this Miss Dalloway-esque soliloquy. That one aside, this makes for an absolutely enthralling, interesting, peculiar read that I would really highly recommend to anyone. To reiterate, though this is about lost things, we don't really focus on the lost things in all of them. For example, Gurukha's Unicorn, it never existed. We haven't really lost the existence of a unicorn. Of course, Gurukha believed that he had it, but it's kind of, it doesn't really make a huge difference. But Schlansky can understand how that unicorn has had an impact on how we view unicorns. So when she sees in a shop someone with a unicorn tattoo, she makes this distinction of this is where it's come from. For an alternative but utterly devilishly bookish example, let's talk about Sappho. Sappho's works are predominantly lost. We don't know where they are, and some poems we only have mere guesses at what Sappho was talking about. But Sappho has indeed created a legacy. There's plethora of writings on this subject, but Schlansky decides to take a different approach. Let's talk about how in writing we denote, how we signify, how we express loss through dashes, such as how Emily Dickinson uses it, or ellipses. What does that signify to each other? They're the words that we cannot find anymore. With all this said, I can see how you might think, okay, there's a lot of talk about losses, there's a lot of different things that have been lost, and we're going to explore them in different ways. How does this relate to you? Why does something resonate with you? And let me show you. This is part of one of the biggest purchases that I made coming up to 3 years ago, and that is my daughter's cot. It's all stripped down, ready to go in the attic, such as her. Oh, by the way, like, if you know any like up-and-coming parents, or you're gonna be a parent, like, get one of these. They're like worth it, absolute weight in gold. I even have like her little bath. Some of you have noticed in the background some of her toys that yeah, we're slowly moving through everything. Everything's kind of being put in this room, and it's going to go. It's going to go. It's not going to be part of my life anymore. She's grown up. You could talk about how this is like a loss. She's not a baby anymore. She's a toddler, and she's moving into being a kid. And while I've lost those moments, so to speak, like, what I'm gaining is an absolutely fantastic little girl. And her sister Hazy, which you might know from the Shuggy Bane video when she was 2 days old and I was still doing reviews, she doesn't need it anymore. She's grown up. I've lost the baby stage, and I've gained so much. Loss is inevitable, and it's only when you're like reflecting on it do you realize, wait, like, this thing that I thought was stable, this thing that I thought I couldn't lose, goes, it dissipates. The rug is completely pulled underneath you. And it's only through noticing it, it's only through dismantling it, such as when I'm taking this cot down, do I realise time's moved on.
Yeah? What?
Daddy's finding you a big old duck. Good girl. Bubbles. Here we go, and then go, ah. Uh-oh. Say ah. With certain moments you can look back fondly, and you can cherish these thoughts. You can always have them in your heart if you look back. But sometimes with a loss, it's your gain. And this for me is a 9 out of 10.